Traveling with pets in a tiny space has its advantages and disadvantages, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Because they're our family, we designed our space to accommodate them, and we kept them in the forefront of our minds the whole build. Today, I want to tell you about how planning and careful consideration made the whole process of moving onto the bus and traveling with our pets a lot easier. And I want to share with you all of like the little dog nooks, cat areas, and different things that we put into our space in order to make their existence more comfortable, and also in the process make things easier, less messy, and just overall an easier, stress-less experience for all of us. Living in a small space like a converted bus definitely limits you with storage, so being able to think about exactly what the pets needed and what they had, all of their belongings like 20-kilogram dog food bags, cat litter boxes, and all of the other things they need to survive, by thinking about all those things and where they would need to go from the very beginning of our build, we were able to ensure that our space really has reduced clutter and also has the spaces that make them more comfortable. So with that said, let's roll to the morning so that I can share all of our tips and tricks to make life on a bus and on the road a lot easier with pets.
Since you called, and I've been waiting here for you all along. I've been waiting here for you all along. Where you been? Where did you go? I wonder if you found what you're looking for.
Has all these comfy spots, and she still chooses my bed first thing in the morning. Morning, Eris. Stretch. The sound of my alarm in the morning. Good morning, friends. Today we're going to do a bit of a fun video. I'm going to tell you all about what it's like traveling with our pets and making sure that they're nice and comfy and happy and well while traveling, and while also being settled in new places all the time. So I figured we would do a bit of a day in the life from their perspective. And I think they're going to put on quite the show, aren't they? Push, push. So we do have a dog bed, but the boys kind of prefer at the moment to sleep separate. So Ty's the lucky one that gets the bed today, hey? They usually swap over. And Eris was on the couch, weren't you, buddy? You guys gonna cuddle? It is actually super early though, so I'm gonna keep sleeping a little longer. The cat tends to wake me up first thing in the morning because there isn't a door, but it's not yet wake up time, so I'll check in with you later. Morning, boys. Ready to go outside? Come on. Come on, let's go toilet. Your friend's here. It's Hazy. Yay, Hazy. Show me your manners. Good boy, Eris. Ty, where are your manners? Good boy. Come on. One of the most fun things about going to different properties especially is that the dogs always seem to have a new dog to play with, and they are absolutely obsessed. So far it's been different how we keep them contained at different properties. So sometimes it doesn't matter at all and they can run all over the place. Sometimes, like where we are right now, there is a fence bordering the house. And that's like the contained space where they're allowed to be. Beyond that, they're not, because it's a conservation zone. In other places, we've put up like our orange electric fence, or we've had friends that have had their own like little contained areas. So there's always a place where the dogs can go, and at times where there isn't, let's say we are like in a on leash campground or there are people around, then we tend to have our leashes and we'll take the dogs out for walks and pee breaks that way. If we tried to travel a few years back when Eris was younger, I think he would have struggled feeling calm and settled in a small space like our bus because he had so much energy. But now at 6 years old, he is much calmer inside, and when we're outside, he uses up all his energy, and so does Ty, which makes a huge difference. And overall, our pets are pretty easygoing, and I think personality and age makes a huge difference to being able to travel with them on the road. So the easiest way to accommodate pets in any space is to consider their basic needs, from eating to drinking, where they're going to sleep and hang out during the day, going to the toilet, and for a cat having to scratch her paws, for a dog really needing to play and run around. So we considered all of these when we started designing and planning our bus, and you may see now that we have a couple of areas dedicated just to our pets, and then places that we share and we're happy to share as well. I think living in a small space, you definitely need to enjoy the company of your pets and not really mind getting messy or dirty, because that's just the reality of living with 3 animals that shed fur right now because it is springtime. We have our Dyson vacuum cleaner right there, and it's very easy to just pull it out and vacuum away all of the dirt, the dust that gathers on their feet, and also the fur that falls off them. With Eris, I tend to take him outside and I'll give him a really good rub down, which he really enjoys. He actually sticks around for like a good half hour, and I think he'd stay for longer if he could. But of course I get tired, and I just kind of like brush away all the fur from him as much as I can, and that makes a huge difference. Freya does get a bit of fur as well, but I mean, she can't go outside, so I just manage that inside. And Ty, being young, I think is fairly okay for now. I think in a year's time his fur will really come in the way that Eris's did, but for now he just has a little bit of fur that falls off. Some of the other needs though, things like scratching. So this lovely basket over here, which is not very aesthetic, don't mind my laundry either, but that basket there is actually the only place Freya has ever been allowed to scratch. So even when we lived in bigger houses, we would get her scratching posts and she wouldn't really use them. She tended to always go to this basket. So we've kind of carried it through from house to house. We don't mind the way it looks. It doesn't look terrible, and it's not like completely falling apart yet. But one thing I was really worried about moving into this space with Freya and starting to decorate especially is I really love the look of baskets like this. I really love the look of, you know, decorating with like this burlap material, and so I have it in spots like this. And this is where the problem can occur, because she's actually tried to scratch at that a couple of times, and so it's just reteaching her that those are not appropriate places to go. We just do that by making the kss noise, and she knows pretty well because Eris will usually jump on her to let her know that we're telling her off. Good fun. But that then encourages her to come over to the basket and give that a scratch. Or an unexpected but really amazing spot that she started scratching is actually her ramp. So she's been scratching the Velcro on this and she really seems to enjoy it. So as she walks up to get some food, there you go. Push, 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 push. Clearly some habits need to be retaught, but she's doing well. One of the other benefits of the dogs going out to play first thing in the morning, which we absolutely love because they're out of our space during the calm part of the morning, is that the cat also gets to kind of get some of her energy out, and she'll usually just run right across the hallway to the other side, and that's been good. Alright, give her a bit of privacy, guys. Gee. I should actually touch on this. So her litter box sits at the front, and we just have the cardboard litter, which is really easy to throw away into a normal bin. The poo we throw into this yoga tub. So the reason we remove the poo from the litter is it just keeps it cleaner for longer and reduces the smell, especially right after she's pooed. It's just a really great way to trap it, and then it doesn't spread in the space. It actually hasn't been that bad, but our friend told us that she was a bit concerned because her cat in their tiny home would smell up the whole room and they would literally have to like evacuate. But our cat's been okay, or we've been okay, I'm not sure, but that's what we've been doing there. And we figured that we can actually probably put the cat's feces in our compost toilet because it is just poo. But that I might need to do some more research because technically there's different pathogens in their poo compared to ours. But I don't know. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. We recently put the water container into the shower, and I'm so glad we did that. It's so much easier to refill. We're not having to carry it across like our floorboards and potentially damaging them or getting water everywhere that we then step on because we don't clean it. Yeah, that's the kind of people we are. So having it in the shower just makes sense. All the mess, all the water stays in a contained area that gets washed away and wet all the time anyways. It's easy to refill. The pets really don't mind that it's over here, and it's also just out of the way of our feet. When we shower, we just take the bowl out, and yeah, super simple, but makes such a big difference. Someone's having a bit of morning feed. Little brekkie. Ty, come cuddle. Yeah, come cuddle. Hey, buddy. Such a good life. The reason I'm kind of showing you guys the pets' morning routines or just like what they're doing around this space and how this relates to traveling with them is we've created a really safe, comfortable, predictable space here inside for them. So when it comes to the home, the bus, the pets know where all their things are, they know what's expected of them, they know their routines, and this helps, just like a kid or an adult, it helps to create this routine of calm, predictable, and like familiar. So when we move to a new place and they find themselves in unfamiliar environments, they're able to still come back to the bus and to the home and feel like this is familiar enough for them to feel comfortable in instantly. And I think that has been a huge contributor in their ability to relax once we settle down and to also be able to go from place to place with as little stress as possible. Of course, there still is the stress of the move, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But as far as the space inside the bus, as soon as we park up, they're able to relax and find their spaces, their food, their water, their routines fairly easily. Come here. Cuddle up. Yeah, spoiled boy. So we started getting them adjusted to being on the bus fairly early on. So I think Freya was the first one to move onto the bus. She did around January of this year when we moved off the property and we were technically camping out at our friend's property and finishing off the build and then living on the bus while it was half built. That was challenging. So that was us getting Freya used to the space, getting used to sometimes being away from us as well, or on the bus alone, the same way that she would be at home if we were to go away for a day trip. So for the dogs, adjusting them to being on the bus full-time traveling was a little bit slower going, and that's because they would travel with me in the car, and we had to adjust them to sitting on the bus as it was traveling, moving, rumbling. For Ty, this was pretty scary, and even for Eris, it was a little overwhelming, but he's a little bit easier going. Both our dogs took a little while to get used to traveling in a car, and a bus is a lot louder and a lot scarier, so this was definitely going to go one of two ways. And even for the cat, this was a concern. For the cat, we had the plan that if she was too stressed or it didn't work out traveling with her, that we would have a friend or family member looking after her for the trip and then come back and pick her up. But luckily she adjusted really fine. And I think what attributes to that is the fact that we did move interstate a few years back, so we already knew what she was like with a long car trip, and she's always been a really good cat when it comes to being in the car. She actually prefers to be on the move in the car than she does to be stopped at traffic lights. Like, that's when she starts complaining. So yeah, we were full confident, and she's kind of adjusted to hiding right in the back of the bus where it's noisy, to finding another nook that we can't find her in, and now she sits underneath the bus seats, where she's nice and close to the front, she's nice and close to us, and when we stop she kind of like comes out for a bit, she says hi, and then she goes back and cozies up in there. So I've organised a little blanket for her and a nice cozy space for when we're moving. As for the dogs, we leash them up. So at first I trialled out having Ty at the front so that I could comfort him and calm him down as we drove, and Eris tied up at the couch. But of course, Eris being who he is, he wanted front row seats, so he jumped to the front and was literally sitting on Ty the whole time we moved. So I decided to actually swap them over, and instantly they were both so much calmer. So Ty is used to sitting on the couch, that's his comfy place, as he is doing right now. So it actually made sense to have that as his spot. He can still look to the front. He's still close enough for me to comfort if I need to, but he's in a super secure, very cozy, full of pillows and comforts, and so I think he just did a lot better laying there, while Eris could look out the windows and cuddle up to me and just like rest his head on the little, I don't know what you would call it, like the little ledge that we have there. So that's how our dogs travel, and whenever we need to, we'll stop off and let them out to the toilet. If we go get groceries, or if we need to stop off and go somewhere, let's say we want to go on a little day trip, if they're not allowed to come with us, they're completely fine just roaming around the bus. And as we start to kind of organize things a bit better in the bus, it creates space in here where it's not chaotic. Now, one thing we have noticed is that Eris has developed a new habit of bullying Ty. So a lot of the time, because we've got their food so close to the floor, and I think just the nature of the small space around, he's kind of started to guard areas a lot more and kind of become really grumpy and growl at Ty and kind of like attack him, which has not been nice. It is definitely worse when we leave them alone in the bus, or when it's like nighttime. That seems to set him off because they either share the bed, or other days he decides he doesn't want to share the bed.
Wait. Leave him.
So that's been probably our biggest challenge moving the pets onto the bus, is just adjusting to that new dynamic and that like anxiety that Eris is getting, that maybe he doesn't have enough space or he's having to sacrifice things. So it's just helping him stay calm, helping to redirect his energy and behavior in a better way. But if anyone has any suggestions for like that new dynamic between them, I'm thinking of maybe just picking up their food and putting it higher, and yeah, just watching them, just making sure Eris knows that Ty's not there to ruin his life and steal all his things. Like, there's enough for everyone.
To reduce any bad behaviour, we cover up the dog food with our curtain. This also helps to hide it from view. Sometimes if the dogs are lucky, they'll get my leftovers as an extra meal. Hey buddy, is it yummy? Is that yummy? Okay. Is it good? Harris is back from his run. Did you have fun playing? Yeah. Yeah.
Ty, come on. Up. Up.
Oh, buddy.
Come on, Ty. Up, up, up.
Go the long way.
Come on. I'm on night shift tonight, so I'm going to have a nap.
And the dogs are lucky enough to come up on the bed.
Yeah.
They're not often allowed up, but when they are.
It's a grey day, you know.
Yeah. This is when they're extra lucky. Eris,
Yes.
don't chew your little brother.
We're sleeping. We're not playing, we're sleeping. Oi. I'll chew you.
We are not done yet for the day. Some of you still had a few questions that I haven't answered throughout my video. So the first question was, are we scared of our cat escaping? And the answer is yes and no. As you can see, she has already escaped a few times, but luckily when she does escape, she tends to only go underneath the bus, and then she'll hang out there for a little bit, only just venturing out when she's kind of ready to be caught and taken back inside. Every now and again, she will play a bit of a cat and mouse game with us, where she's the mouse and we're the cat. Ironic. Eventually we do get her inside and she doesn't tend to kind of go too far away. Worst case scenario, if it is taking a little while longer, we'll let her kind of chill there for a little bit, and then in about an hour or so she'll get hungry or she'll get bored and she'll let us catch her. So for those that didn't know, our cat was an outside cat first. We did train her to come inside for the evening time, so we kind of created this routine of we let her know when time's up and she kind of built a bit of a respect around that. But the reality of bus life, and especially having other people coming in and out of our space, is every now and again the door will get left open a little bit too long, and that's when she'll escape if she's close by and she notices. Most of the time she doesn't do this unless we're outside or she's just being annoying. One thing she does do though is, because she doesn't have access to outside anymore, naturally cats and dogs like to eat grass and plants. I think it helps their digestion the way that a salad does for us. And because she doesn't have that, she started to eat some of my plants, which I'm not very happy about. I guess the takeaway in this is, if you're going to have a cat on the bus, maybe start them off as an inside cat from the get-go, because it was a lot harder transitioning an outdoor cat to be okay with being inside. She's completely comfortable now and I don't think she would have it any other way. But yeah, I think in the future, or if we were to do it again, we wouldn't have her as an outside cat knowing that she'd be inside for the rest of her life. Alright, next question. Where do we get our supplies on the road? Because we're in such a huge vehicle, we don't tend to go off-road too often and we stick to main highways when we travel. This makes it really easy when we need pet supplies to just stop off at a main town and get them at like a pet food store or a Bunnings or wherever is available around in the area. If we stay put for a little bit longer, usually we can organise pet food to be posted to us, but we do this less often because it's just convenient to go and store. Have the pets done anything naughty? Yes. Mostly they're okay, but the dogs definitely like to get into our bin when we leave the house. This is because clearly it stores delicious smelling leftovers and whatever else we've thrown in the bin. And because that area in general isn't yet finished off and we don't have a cupboard to close the bin off, they have full access. So at the moment it's just kind of something that we have to deal with, and usually we'll come home after a day away. If we haven't put the bin outside or up on a surface, they will have usually raided it. They can't help it, it's in their nature. we can only blame ourselves, really. Next question, how can we relax inside of the bus when it's raining outside, especially when it's raining for a few days? So we will often still go outside with the dogs when it is raining. We'll try to catch the break between the rain, or we'll just brave it and just dry them off after. We have created a mud room at the front of our bus where we can dry the dogs off, and all the dirt and mud can kind of stay in that area before they move into the rest of the bus. And we also have a detachable shower head so that we can give them a bit of a shower and a rinse off in the bathroom if they are like exceptionally dirty. So overall, it hasn't been a big issue. The dogs are a lot calmer nowadays than especially Eris has ever been. Ty has always been chill, so they don't tend to mind a few days on the bus, but you can definitely tell that they need to go and stretch their legs by the end of it. The next question is, how do we navigate national parks and areas where pets are not allowed? And I think this is really similar for what we have to consider when we go camping or when we take the dogs out for walks. In Australia, there's a lot of places where dogs are allowed, or they're allowed on leash, or they're not allowed at all. And so it's just a matter of researching and finding out the information for whatever that area is, and then being respectful of that. If we need to, we can leave the dogs on the bus. We have air conditioning, we have windows, it is a home, and so it's not too dissimilar from leaving them in your Airbnb when you're traveling, or leaving them at home in general. So that's usually what we'll do, and then that also allows us to just go on day trips to visit places where they're not allowed. We have found that we do still prefer to go to places like state forests, or places where dogs are allowed, or where there are less people, because then it just reduces our dogs barking at strangers as they walk outside the bus, and it just creates a calmer environment for them and for us, because it means we can just open the door and let them run around without the worry of, you know, are they allowed to be here? Are they going to disturb someone? So that's kind of been like our main priority as we're traveling, is we'll try to be more off grid, so that we're not exposing the dogs and ourselves to people who might have a problem with the dogs being there. Most people don't though, because our dogs are just super chill, or we're supervising them. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed the video. It's been a fun kind of look into our life traveling with our pets. We're still in early days of doing this, and I'm sure that our routines and what we do with them will just get easier and easier. But overall, a good planning has been an ultimate win for the pets and for us in the space. It's just, yeah, made life easier and made transitioning to the life like this a lot better as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.